And what is up, you guys? Welcome to the stream. For whatever reason, no countdown video. I don't know why it's not working, but technology, as it always is, 2 steps forward, 10 massive steps backward. I am not the biggest tech guru in the entire world, that is for sure. But today we are here to talk a little bit of Mets. Of course, we know the pursuit of Cody Bellinger. It continues. He is still yet to pick a team. The Mets still hot on his heels. The Yankees looking to have a reunion with him. We're going to break all that down. Seems like a move is coming soon. We heard earlier this afternoon that the Mets and other teams that are in his market are expecting an answer relatively soon. Now, who knows exactly what that means, but it is January 20th. And I mean, we are talking just about a month before pitchers, catchers start reporting, but really a lot of players start reporting to their spring training location. So the time is ticking for Cody Bellinger and his decision, but we're going to get into that. And of course, we heard about the newest inductees into Major League Baseball's Hall of Fame, Carlos Beltran, of course, the ex-Met, the very nearly manager of the Mets. Of course, we know how that all went down. Inducted along with longtime Atlanta Brave Andrew Jones. So congratulations to those guys. We could talk about that, but otherwise really just an open forum here to talk all things Mets, all things Major League Baseball. Q&A for sure. Want to hear from you guys in the chat. Let me know what you guys are thinking. You may have caught the video I just dropped this afternoon, a Mets trade proposal for Steven Kwan. We could talk about that as well. If you watch that video, you know I'm not exactly crazy about the Mets dealing for Kwan, which is why I did not exactly propose the biggest offer to Cleveland, but we could break that down as well. This is your place for all things Mets and baseball. What's up? I'm Tony Metro. You know the drill. Daily Mets content. Leave this video a like. Go ahead and do that right now. Really appreciate it, guys. Helps out the channel big time. And of course, if you're not already subscribed, go ahead that button now. We are on our way to 6K by opening day, exactly 66 days from this date right now, January 20th. So really appreciate it. Best way you could do that is by leaving a like on this video, by sharing this with friends and family, baseball fans in your life. Really do appreciate that from you guys. Let's go to the chat right away. Tim knows baseball. What is up, Tim? How you doing? Yo, what's up, Beltran to be a Met Hall of Famer? Yeah, so Carlos Beltran gets the nod. I think he got like 84% of the votes. I don't recall exactly how many years he had been on the ballot now, but I mean, I'm actually a little surprised that Carlos got in. I'm not going to lie to you. Now, he was obviously trending in that direction, but with how they have treated steroid users over the past several years, with the whole situation, of course, that Beltran was essentially the mastermind of the Houston Astros cheating scandal, I thought that the baseball writers were going to be a little harsher against him and maybe even completely keep him out of Cooperstown, but not the case. Carlos Beltran gets in, and you have to assume it's going to be donning a New York Mets cap, right? I can't imagine he would go in with any other team. I believe he spent the most amount of years of his career with the Mets. It was about 6.5, if I'm not mistaken, before the Mets dealt him to San Francisco at the 2011 trade deadline. So there's no doubt the bulk of his resume came with the New York Mets, despite obviously starting his career with Kansas City, having that historic playoff run with Houston in 2004 prior to signing the 7-year deal with the Mets. And it's just crazy to me. I mean, I'm 31 years old now, and then I'll stop down this rabbit hole unless you guys want to continue talking about it. But I must have been 12 when Carlos Beltran signed. And I remember seeing 7-year deal, 112 or 120 million, whatever it was, in the newspapers on the New York Post back page cover, thinking 2012 is so far away. Like, I'm going to be 19 by that time. Like, there's no way. And now we are in 2026. Juan Soto has a 15-year deal, and Carlos Beltran is in the Hall of Fame, of course, as we know, after famously never actually managing the Mets despite getting hired, as we all know how that kind of went down. But anyway, yes, congratulations to Carlos, and in all likelihood will be wearing a Mets cap. He will be the 3rd player inducted into the Hall of Fame wearing a Mets hat. Of course, the only 2 before him, Tom Seaver and Mike Piazza. So pretty cool there. Sal Capello, hey Tony, LGM, what's up, Sal? How you doing, man? Welcome to the stream. I appreciate you tuning in. Hope you guys are having a nice Tuesday here. John Liberato, what kind of contract do you think Tony Mets will offer? And congrats on Beltran. So I think you're referring to Cody Bellinger. So we're going to get into that. I'm going to share my screen with you guys here shortly, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a very similar deal to what the Mets just offered Bo Bichette. I don't know about $47 million AAV and an opt-out after year one, but I would not be surprised if the Mets are offering a very, very similar high AAV short-term deal with opt-outs to Cody Bellinger, the same way that they just did to Bo Bichette. And there is some evidence from some of the top reporters in baseball to support that idea. So we are going to break into it all. At the end of the day, guys, and I'm going to just be on record, I've said it before, I think Cody Bellinger wants to go back to the Yankees. I think he was just like a perfect hand and glove fit there at Yankee Stadium with that lefty swing. I think it is a really good match made in heaven between the Yankees and Bellinger, and I do ultimately think he will re-up in the Bronx. But I also said this about the Mets and the Kyle Tucker situation last week. If you guys recall, I said the longer this drags on, the longer that it's not announced that Kyle Tucker is going to be wearing the orange and blue, the worse feeling I got about it. And I do kind of feel that same way regarding the Cody Bellinger Yankees situation right now. So not to panic a Yankees fan, although I love doing that, of course, but I do think the longer this drags on, the longer this saga continues, the less likely it might be that Cody Bellinger does, in fact, re-up with the Yankees in the Bronx. Truth Hurts says, baseball Hall of Fame is like a rock Hall of Fame. Jones was a lifetime 254 hitter. He fell off a cliff after the steroid era. Yeah, so I don't know that Andrew Jones actually ever was convicted of using steroids. I guess that's the word that I will use. He definitely had a very precipitous fall off, but I mean, we are talking for like almost 10 years, the greatest center fielder in the game, like a 30 to 40 home run bat at times, just pure hitter, and the most ridiculous glove that you've ever seen in center field. So I have always said, like, if you have guys that were the top specimen at their respective position or doing something so well over a 5 to 7 year period that you belong in the Hall of Fame. I appreciate guys like Andrew Jones who were at the top of the game throughout all of Major League Baseball for a good number of years, more than I do someone like the guy that just got inducted from Chicago a couple years ago. I can't even think of his name right now, but stat patters, guys that just had longevity, played 15-year careers, and yeah, at the end of the day, they end up having stats that are comparable with other Hall of Famers, but were they ever truly the best in their class, the best player at their position for a long time amount of years? So I can appreciate Andrew Jones getting inducted in this one, and I think the same could be said for Carlos Beltran as well. Let's see, Rudy Golan says, I miss my Yankees. Please don't steal Bellinger from us. Man, I really am sorry if that happens, but I'm really not. Sorry, but not sorry. The Mets going back-to-back offseason, stealing the eye of the apple of the Yankees' eye would be amazing. Of course, Juan Soto last offseason, and now this year, Cody Bellinger. And it's not a Mets-Yankees thing, even though it has to be a Mets-Yankees thing, because obviously they share a town. And obviously with the Mets taking Juan Soto last year and giving him the deal that they gave him. But at the end of the day, Cody Bellinger is a really good fit for the Mets, too. The ability to play all those outfield positions, to play first base, which I still think is a question mark. I am not convinced that Jorge Polanco is just going to seamlessly transition into a first baseman. It gives them the luxury of allowing Carson Bench to get his feet wet a little bit longer in AAA, get some more seasoning. No need to rush him and have him on the opening day roster starting in left field. So as good of a fit as Cody Bellinger is with the Yankees, he is equally as good, if not better, a fit in Queens as well. So let's see. Andrew Farrakio says next Mets to get in the Hall of Fame, probably Lindor and Soto. If Beltran was a free agent today, Stearns would only offer a 3-year contract. Yeah, I don't remember how old Beltran was at the time. I think he might have been 28 or something like that when the Mets signed him in 2005. He was relatively young, if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But David Stearns has definitely got some people out there not too fond of his work so far this offseason. But I'll tell you what, you end up signing Bellinger here, or you end up pulling off a big trade that we're not really thinking about, then that would definitely change the tune of a lot of even his most passionate haters or passionate people that don't think that David Stearns is doing a good job. Let's see, Sal Capello. In the garbage can, we're getting is the garbage can getting inducted as well. Too bad we didn't have that garbage can in 06. If he had the garbage can in 06, there's no doubt he's hitting a grand slam there with the bases loaded with 2 outs in the 9th inning. And the Mets are going to the World Series in 2006, and they would have beat the brakes off of the Detroit Tigers that year. We all know it. I think the Cardinals either swept Detroit that year in the World Series or won 4-1. I can't remember exactly, but the Mets were definite favorites to win that World Series had they advanced in 2006. So yes, it is a shame that we didn't have that garbage can, Sal, but I don't know. no word on if it is also getting inducted with its own plaque into Cooperstown or not. Dave M. Tony, what's good, man? I called Tucker using the Mets. Now we have to get an outfielder or 2+ a starter. Yeah, Dave, you were not wrong about that, man. It is so evident that Kyle Tucker used the Mets deal, took it to the Dodgers. The Mets gave him a better signing bonus, but in the end, he wanted to be with LA. That is clear. He didn't want the smoke of playing in New York, where the media actually asks tough questions. I can't really blame him. Of course, the Dodgers are, of course, a much better situation right now in terms of their ability to win. And just as far as all the craziness and extracurriculars surrounding the Mets right now coming off the 2025 season. But there's no doubt he used the deal that the Mets drew up, took it to LA, and is happy to be a Dodger and just be in the shadows, be the 5th or 6th most important player on that team, whatever. Kyle Tucker didn't want the smoke, but the Mets definitely do need an outfielder here, and that is why we're going to talk about Cody Bellinger here this afternoon. That's why I made that trade proposal idea for Jarren Duran on Sunday, and then just this afternoon, the video about Stephen Kwan, just exploring all the different options in case Cody Bellinger does go back to the Yankees or signs with one of the other suitors who we are going to get into here. Let's see. Jaleel Carroll says, hey, Tony, I think the Mets offer 3 years, $120 million with an opt-out in year 2. Now, that is a good offer, and that is definitely a realistic one if you ask me. That is $40 million AAV for Cody Bellinger, gets the opt-out after year 2. I would think he'd probably want an opt-out in each of the first 2 years. I mean, that's essentially the contract that Bo Bichette just got. Difference is, Bo Bichette is about to turn 28 years old. Cody Bellinger turns 31 in July. So I think he would prefer to have the ability to retest the free agent market again in the 2027 offseason. So after this upcoming year at age 31, rather than 2 years from now when he'll be entering his age 32 season. So yeah, I think that is a very realistic offer though. The high AAV, short-term commitment, opt-outs in there somewhere, whether it's like Bo Bichette's deal with the Mets where it's opt-outs after the first 2, or in the case that you just proposed after year 2. I think that is something that would definitely interest Cody Bellinger without a doubt. Let's see. Who else do we got here? Stanley, Tony, when will the Mets address their pitching issues? Oh, man, that is an age-old question this offseason, isn't it? I don't know. I really don't. And again, the longer it goes on like this, the longer I am thinking they are just going to hope that 30 starts out of Nolan McLean is better than the 8 starts they got from him last year. And that Cody Senga could not possibly pitch worse than he did after returning from that hammy injury. And the same for Sean Manaea with the loose bodies in his elbow and everything that led up to that. Same for David Peterson in August through the end of the year. I think they're going to bank on those guys pitching better and closer to them their normal selves, plus whatever addition you get out of Nolan McLean, out of Jonah Tong taking a step forward maybe and being a midseason call-up. Maybe Brandon Sproat enters this rotation conversation. And, of course, Christian Scott coming back from Tommy John surgery. What is he? So I hope they address it. I really do. I think they need to externally. And, that is why I proposed that deal the other day as far as the 3-way trade between the Red Sox and the Astros, where the Mets are sending out David Peterson. And there were a lot of comments on that video saying, our pitching is already so weak. Why would you send anything away from it? Well, we were getting Jarren Duran, first of all, in that mock trade. Number 2, I didn't send any of Sproat or the other young pitchers in that deal because I could still see the Mets turning around and trading one of those guys for a name like Freddie Peralta. And you may have also remembered I said about a week ago, after we learned what Tariq Skubal filed for and what the Tigers filed for, a historic difference of about $13 million. They're heading for arbitration. And just like I suspected, they are now having larger conversations, Detroit that is, about potentially moving Tariq Skubal. So maybe Skubal is going to get moved here sooner than we thought. It appeared like they were going to wait and head into the season with him, but now that money's coming down to the conversation, maybe Tariq Skubal does get moved after this arbitration gets solved with them. So lots of things on the table, no doubt about it. JC, what an excellent day. He says, love Beltran. 2006 was a fun year to watch, even if it ended with a bat on a shoulder. Congrats, Beltran. No doubt. We're going to talk a little bit about Beltran. I want to get through the rest of this chat here, but is there any Met player that is, I guess, more divided this fan base than Carlos Beltran is the word I'll use for it. Just between the way he began his Mets tenure with such a terrible 2005, was great in 2006, and then of course Game 7 keeping the bat on his shoulder. Then all those knee injuries and not taking the team's advice, getting surgery from another physician instead of the team's doctors, and then of course the Mets hiring him as his manager prior to the 2020 season when all of the Astros cheating scandal fallout occurred, and of course never managed the Mets. So it is just such a wild and such, honestly, a Mets-like tenure for Carlos Beltran, not even just from his playing days, but all the other things in between it as well. Let's see. Tomb Raiders, I think that a three-team trade where the Mets get Skubal and Detroit gets Peralta makes all the sense in the world. All right, so the Mets get Skubal, Detroit gets Freddie Peralta. I'm thinking the Mets are going to be sending a lot of prospects to Detroit and Milwaukee in that case. I don't know. I got to imagine that the Mets are going to be paying the bulkhead of the prospects to Detroit and then even to Milwaukee to a lesser degree. That sounds like they're going to be doing a lot dipping into their farm system, but it's not a bad idea, actually. That's something I'd like to explore. Good call from you, Tomb Raiders. Oddville was good, Tony. Much love from the Queens baseball crew. Thank you, Oddville, and I appreciate you and everyone over in the Queens baseball crew. You guys do an amazing job over there on Twitter. You guys got to go check them out. Oddville is an OG for sure. Michael Doherty, 40 million AAV, yeah, for Cody Bellinger. That's probably what it's going to take because we know he wants the long-term deal. Doesn't sound like anyone's really willing to give him more than the 5-year, $165 million offer that the Yankees have extended him at this point. So we shall see. Then you should have got a Manny that trade deadline if Duaner Sanchez didn't get hurt. I can't even talk about it. It's so upsetting. I mean, if Duaner Sanchez doesn't want Dominican food in Miami at 10 p.m. or whatever it was and get into that car accident, the Mets win the World Series in 06. Maybe they land Manny Ramirez. Maybe they just don't have to trade Xavier Nady for Ollie Perez and Roberto Hernandez. I don't know. But that one cab ride completely changed the destiny of the 2006 Mets, and I honestly think it probably led to the fallout of the 07 and 08 collapses as well, and then of course into the doldrums of the early 2010 seasons that were just absolute misery. So that is the Mets life, isn't it, as a Mets fan? Dave, what do you think we can get for the outfielder, and are we truly in on Vargas? Vargas, which Vargas are you talking about? I don't even know who you're talking about. Which Vargas? Let me know, Dave. As far as the outfield, I think all the names I just mentioned are realistic, but we also know there's a backup plan. The Mets have kept in touch with Austin Hayes as well. So you know what? Let me go ahead and do this right now, guys. I'm going to share my screen with you and we can take a look at everything here together. So first and foremost, just like I was just talking about here a moment ago, update from John Heyman a little under an hour ago. I'm sorry, it was a couple hours ago actually now, but John Heyman, Cardinals, Yankees, and Mets are among many teams who've maintained contact with free agent outfielder Austin Hayes, who was fully healthy and had a very nice season in 2025. Cody Bellinger remains the top outfield target of the two New York teams. So nothing really changed. And, you know, I got to say, I was a little surprised that even after the deal the Mets gave Bo Bichette, that they were still in on Cody Bellinger's market. I did not think that was a realistic possibility at that point. I thought that they would go this route of maybe a guy like Austin Hayes, maybe a trade for Luis Robert Jr. to stick in center field, and then they would focus on their starting rotation. But apparently the Mets are still very much in on Cody Bellinger's market. Austin Hayes is not someone that really gets me going here. Doesn't exactly get me super hyped or anything, but we're going to take a look at his numbers as well. But first, we'll take a look at some of these articles here. Real quick, Boyce says, we want Bellinger. His numbers outside of Yankee Stadium aren't great. That is a good point. So we'll pull up his splits home and away. And that's why I said that swing is just tailor-made for Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. I mean, that short porch in right field, he's definitely going to get nerfed a little bit by coming to Citi Field. There's no doubt about it. We have to be conscious of that if he does sign with the Mets. He hit 29 homers last season. I wouldn't expect him to be putting up those type of power numbers at Citi Field. I still think he could be a nice 25 home run bat, no doubt about it. But more importantly, the defensive versatility that he's going to provide you at all the outfield positions plus first base. I think it's a total no-brainer for sure. Let's see. Andrew Faraki, I'm still stuck on Bo contract. Why give a young good player a 1-year deal? I mean, it sounds like the only way they were going to be able to get him was on that deal that they gave him and that he ended up accepting. I'm not going to, worry myself about it because at the end of the day, it's money. If he opts out, that means he played extremely well and balled out for the Mets this year. But at the very least, it prevented the Phillies from getting Bo Bichette as well. And they are very upset by that if you caught any of the articles online today. But Dave Dombrowski and the rest of the Phillies front office were livid that he ended up signing with the Mets. They thought that they had him. It was like a 7-year deal, $200+ million. Instead, he'll be suiting up in Queens this year. So at the very least, the Phillies don't get better. The Mets maybe only for 1 year. But again, if he opts out after this season, that's because Bo Bichette thinks he can do better than making $42 million in 2027 and 2028. So that would mean he had a very, very good season for the Mets this past year. Let's see. Jarrell Carroll, it was 10 p.m. Oh, yeah, it was late. 10 p.m. exactly. The Dwaner Sanchez injury. Mr. Met, 187, 10 playoff appearances and 2 Mickey Mouse rings, overrated, overhype frauds. I don't know who that is that you're talking about. Dave, sorry, you meant Valdez. Framber Valdez. Now, I'm glad you brought up Framber Valdez because after they signed Bo Bichette, I basically said I think there is zero chance the Mets are still in on Framber Valdez. I just didn't think that there was going to be another player that the Mets are willing to give a deal to that has the qualifying offer attached to them. But I guess it's at a point now where if you're going to go in, you might as well jump into the pool and deep end with both feet, right? And so the Mets are reportedly still in on Framber Valdez. How in? I don't know. We know they don't want to do any long-term commitment to him, and I understand why. We've broken it down here on the channel many times. He's 32 years old. Yeah, his numbers are good. His resume speaks for itself. I don't want to do a long-term commitment myself to a guy that is entering his mid-30s, no matter how good and consistent he has been. I did prefer him over Ranger Suarez. I've cited Ranger Suarez's velocity dropping over the last couple of years, whereas Valdez really hasn't shown any of those issues whatsoever. So I'd like, look, it's me. So I like Framber Valdez, but just like David Stearns has made clear this entire offseason, it doesn't sound like the Mets are willing to go to anything beyond a 3-year commitment on Valdez. But the fact they are still in on his market is very shocking, considering they just gave the deal they did to Bo Bichette and, of course, lost the draft pick compensation and international pool money that they did from him having a qualifying offer attached to him. Obviously, the same here is true with Framber Valdez, and then the Mets would be in the same territory as the Dodgers are right now after signing Tucker, which is losing your 2nd, your 5th, your 6th, your 3rd. I don't even know the exact picks, but like 4 of your first top 4 picks plus the international pool money. So something to keep note of here. But again, I would be shocked if the Mets actually gave Valdez anything more than a 3-year deal. And I have to suspect there's going to be a desperate team out there somewhere, maybe Baltimore, that wants to improve their rotation and will give him closer to the 5 or 6 years that he's likely seeking. Let's see. Measy BX says, if I was Stearns, I would still make phone calls for Joe Adell, Brendan Donovan, Stephen Kwan, and Brenton Doyle. Check those teams' temperature. And I'm sure that is what David Stearns has been doing, is checking in with all these teams. You listed Brenton Doyle. So out in Colorado. Joe Adell, I really like. Unfortunately, defensively challenged, and I mean, doesn't seem to fit what David Stearns has preached all offseason about run prevention. But then again, sticking Bo Bichette at third base, a position he's never played before, or Jorge Polanco at first, aren't exactly in line with that thinking either. So I love the idea of Joe Adell, and I would have loved to see the Mets get in on his market. But I don't think the Angels want to trade him because it's one of the few attractions they actually have as a draw out there in Anaheim for a fan base that is just totally beleaguered at this point. And 2, again, really bad defensive numbers in left and in center field, like -15, -20 defensive runs saved across the board, no matter which of the 3 outfield spots that you play him in. So the bat plays, no doubt about it. Defensively, I don't know about Adell. As far as Brendan Donovan, I do really like him. Can play the infield and the outfield. I think there's a lot of teams that really like him, though, and he is probably going to be the most expensive of those names that you listed, and for good reason. He's the best and most defensively versatile player of those guys that you listed, but maybe a little too rich for the Mets' blood in terms of potential trade with the Cardinals, but not against it at all. Danny Capsey says, if the media is saying Cody and the Mets, that tells me we're not getting Cody. That has been the case here so far this offseason. Anytime the Mets have been linked to a guy this winter, he does not sign with the Mets. And then in the case of Bo Bichette, not a peep about him. It's all Philly until you get the article or the post on Twitter saying Bo Bichette is signed with the Mets. So I completely understand your distrust for the media right now, Danny Caps. Boys, Bellinger is 4 for 11 at Citi Field. Well, he's played a lot more than just 11 at-bats, I would imagine, in his career. Of course, came up with the Dodgers and then spent 2 years with the Cubs. So I would think that he's probably had a lot more than just 11 at-bats at Citi Field, but I could be wrong. But quickly, let's jump into the numbers on Cody. 5.1 wins above replacement this past year in 152 games. I mean, by far the healthiest season he has had in his career since his second year in the big leagues when he was 22 years old and played a full 162 with the Dodgers. That was his MVP season, of course, where he hit 47 bombs, drove in 115 runs, had a 1035 OPS. But this past year, definitely one of his better ones. Was solid his first year in Chicago, 881 OPS. That came in 130 games. But again, Yankee Stadium obviously helping him out there. Finished 14th in MVP voting this past year after hitting 29 bombs and coming up just 2 RBIs short of driving in 100 runs. So how would it play at Citi Field? That is a good question. So first and foremost, why don't we do this? I'll go over to his splits for 2025 because I want to see how he performed away from Yankee Stadium. And I already know the answer. It was obviously much better with the short porch and right field in the Bronx than it was for his road games. But let's get into it. And guys, thank you so much once again for tuning in. Go ahead, leave this video a like. Go ahead and do that right now. Appreciate it very, very much. Helps the channel out a lot. And if you're not already subscribed, hit that sub button. Trying to get to that goal of 6K subscribers by opening day 2026. We have exactly 66 days to do that. So go hit that subscribe button right now. Thank you so much. First, let me go back to the chat before we look at Cody Bellinger's splits from this past year. Oddville and his numbers at Citi are pretty good. We're going to get into that here in just a moment. Dodgers, easy 3P, LOL. Mets World Series until 2086. Yeah, that's about how you would. That's pretty much the intellect level of most Dodger fans. That comment right there pretty much sums it all up. Elvin Solano says, I got to give credit to Mr. Stearns. Much props on signing Bo, the babyface assassin. Bichette, good for the lineup, but we still need a good starting pitcher on the team, no doubt. Pitcher is definitely something. Starter is something that we are obviously definitely in need of, without a doubt. What it's gonna be, who's it gonna be, I still don't know, and it's gonna feel like, I think, just one of these out of nowhere reports. Mets acquired XYZ. Mets have signed this guy. Mets have, dealt this for that. Like, that's just kind of how it's been going for the Mets this offseason. You don't really think they're gonna zig, and then they zag, and then they zag when you think they're gonna zig. So let's see. Dave M. Tony, love how you acknowledge everyone in here. No, I appreciate that, Dave. Not many other YouTubers do this. Yeah, well, guys, I've said it before, you are instrumental to these streams. Without you guys popping off in the chat, you have no idea how difficult it is, and I don't like to just be repeating myself. So getting to interact with you guys in the comment section, it helps me so much. So I am happy to acknowledge all of you and for everyone to get their pop here. So thank you. I appreciate it from you, Dave, and from everyone else taking the time to watch these videos and to comment. Mike Smith says, make Letty Dykstra a minor league third base coach. Well, Lenny just got another run-in with the law for drugs. So I don't think Lenny Dykstra's got a coaching future down the pipe here anytime soon, unfortunately. No ill will toward Lenny at all, but yeah, I don't think Lenny's going to be getting any coaching gigs at the present moment. Let's see. Michael Doherty, sorry guys. Michael Doherty waiting this long. I say he doesn't want Yankees, wants money. I think he does want the Yankees, but I do think he wants the deal that he kind of has set himself up for this offseason. He's coming off a good season. I think he's looking to cash in. This is probably the last time he gets to seriously play free agency. And look, the idea of doing the short-term high AAV deal is cool and all, but honestly, if I was in Cody's shoes, I'm coming off a really good year. I'm about to turn 31 in July. This is it. Let me cash in now. Let me get my long-term home. This is where I'm going to play out the rest of my career. I'm going to try to cash in as much as I can with guaranteed years as well. And that's that. It's a risky proposition for him to come out, sign a 2-3 year deal with the opt-outs, even at a high AAV, and have to go retest the market again, where anything could happen in a season. He could get injured. He could not adapt well to a new stadium and a new team and a new lineup. So I understand why he would just prefer the long-term commitment, the long-term deals over getting something like the Mets offered Bo Bichette. But all right, so here are Bellinger's home and away splits, and they are even more drastic than I remember. But 80 home games this past season at the stadium in the Bronx, a 909 OPS, 18 homers for Cody Bellinger at Yankee Stadium. He even hit over 300. OBP was 365. Away from the friendly confines of Yankee Stadium in 72 games, he slashed 241, an on-base percentage that was very nearly below 300 at 301, slugged just 414, and his OPS nearly a 200-point drop-off from 909 at Yankee Stadium to 715 on the road. So even more drastic of home and away splits than I remembered. 101 OPS plus on the road versus a 147 OPS plus at home. I think he finished the year with a 125 OPS, somewhere in between those two numbers, obviously. So there's definitely something to be a little wary of if you do sign Cody Bellinger and you're not named the New York Yankees. I don't think he's necessarily a Yankee Stadium merchant. We've seen him hit for power at Dodger Stadium earlier in his career, which is pretty notorious for being a pitcher's park. Wrigley Field, it's a little more friendly to hitters, I think, than Dodger Stadium, but there's always the weird conditions, of course, with the wind out there and the dimensions of that park and the corners especially. Citi Field, I've always said this. I wish they would just fix the right center field gap and just make it a little more symmetrical, because that whole power alley out there, of course, that David Wright was so famous to going to right center field, is a long, long shot for anybody, whether you're right-handed or left-handed. But I have to assume that Bellinger's numbers are going to take a little bit of a dip if he was playing 81 of his games at Citi Field. No doubt about it. Let me go to the chat here. Lamar Jackson says, of course they are with a high AAV short-term deal. Stearns will cook with that all day. Yes, sir. That is the deal for David Stearns. He likes those short-term commitments, and I appreciate that. Honestly, if you can get the good player, you're not committing to them long-term, except for special circumstances like the case of Juan Soto last year, or what they tried doing for Yoshi Yamamoto before signing with the Dodgers. Guys that are in their 20s and have 7 to 8 years of their prime left. The Mets don't want to have long-term commitments to guys in their 30s, and I understand why. Maybe there's an exception here or there, but I completely understand their reasoning for not wanting to do that and blocking other guys that will hopefully come up through their system soon and be cheaper and more productive, or at least equally as productive. Let's see. Red Horse Adventures, if Andrew Jones goes into the Hall of Fame for his glove, Keith Hernandez belongs in the Hall. I do believe Keith and Don Mattingly should both be in the Hall of Fame. They should get inducted together. And that's why I can't remember the guy's name for the White Sox. Someone help me. The dude that just got inducted through the committee, Harold Baines, right? So you're telling me Harold Baines is a Hall of Famer, but Keith Hernandez nor Don Mattingly are? Okay, right? Like, come on. That's what I'm talking about when I'm saying stat patters, guys that just had longevity for their careers, 10, 15-year careers, and at the end of the day, the numbers are kind of comparable, but were they ever actually the best player at their position, let alone on their team in some cases, to be put into the Hall of Fame? I'm not so sure about that. Let's see. Who else we got here? Michael Doherty, Bellinger, solid player. We need this piece now. Like I said, guys, the longer it goes on, the longer I think, or less likely I think it is that the Yankees are going to end up signing their guy back. I'm going to show you guys this article from The Athletic. Brendan Cody, who does a good job covering the Yankees. So I'm going to share this and we're going to read through it here in just a moment. Let me just finish here with a few more chats. Waiting for the hook. Jones didn't just get in for his glove, though. No, also was a tremendous bat. No doubt about it. Great fielder, and was a real thorn in the Mets side for all of those years, and was one of the perennial sluggers in the game for a long, long time as well. Danny Caps, I know we still need a hitter, but man, this BP looks like ouch right now. I talked about two guys recently. One of them was Dylan Ross, who I think is going to be a huge part of this team's bullpen. We know he got called up for game 162 last year, did not make his big league debut in that game. But you also heard from Mike Mayer, the editor-in-chief of MMO, who I interviewed last week. He believes Dylan Ross is going to be the most impactful rookie on the 2026 team. Now, part of that out of necessity because the Mets are going to need some bullpen pieces to pan out from their system, but he does really like him, has a big league splitter. I think Mike told me he had opposing hitters go 1 for 40 against his splitter in the minor leagues last year, including 20 strikeouts or something crazy like that. So I think Dylan Ross is a name that you could look for this to make the opening day bullpen. And I think Ryan Lambert, who I proposed in that trade for Stephen Kwan, is another name that we're going to see at some point this year and be impactful in the Mets bullpen. That was a big reason I put him in that trade. I think it'd be enough to appease Cleveland, but again, like I said, I'm not crazy about trading for Stephen Kwan in the first place. So yeah, it was a little bit of a low ball offer on my end, him and Mark Vientos. You guys could check that video out after we're done here. But I don't think the Mets bullpen is as bad or in as dire need of arms as we might think right now, because I do see the emergence of Ross, maybe of Lambert, and maybe some of the other names that are in the Mets farm system as having a big impact out of relief for them this year. Andrew Farracchio, wish Cohen hired a president of baseball operations like a Dombrowski or Rizzo, ones that guys that know how to build a winning team in a big market and not scared to sign a player long term. You could ask Philly fans right now how they're feeling about Dave Dombrowski, because they are not pleased. The fact that they are basically running it back despite also losing Ranger Suarez. They have yet to re-sign Harrison Bader. They said in the beginning of the offseason they expected Nick Castellanos to be playing somewhere else. They have found no trade suitors to take on his contract, and they just re-signed JT Realmuto, a 30-something-year-old catcher, to a 3-year, $51 million deal. So Philly fans are in shambles right now and not too pleased with Dave Dombrowski. Obviously, we know the Mets Steve Cohen was hoping to get Theo Epstein, but was committed already to whatever type of role he is in with Major League Baseball as an advisor right now. But look, I'm still giving time for David Stearns. It is essentially the first opportunity he's had to build this team and organization in his own vision. So let's give it a little bit more time. I've been critical when it calls for it, no doubt, but let's see how the rest of this plays out. Let's see. Red Horse Adventures. Boris creating a market, not buying it. Teams don't just have 150 million plus lying around. He says it's going to compare Jones's numbers to Hernandez. Yeah, go ahead and do that, Red Horse. Let me know. 2 meters, he's a shill for Boris. Who is that? Cody? Is that who you're talking about? I don't know. Let's see. Michael DiPinto says, yes, Keith does deserve to be in the Hall of Fame for his glove. Finally, thank you, Donnie Baseball, too, without a doubt. Ozzie in for his glove. Yes, Ozzie Smith. Andrew Farracchio, would it surprise anyone if Bellinger goes to the Dodgers? It would really surprise me at this point. We heard today owners are up in arms about the Dodgers signing Kyle Tucker. A salary cap is coming. We'll see how that actually plays out at the upcoming CBA negotiations next winter. But I think the Dodgers are done. They have shot their load, not to be crude, but I don't see how the Dodgers could possibly sign Bellinger at this point and fit him into that team, into that roster. Maybe they want to do that and they'll have to move someone like Teoscar Hernandez in that case, but I think the Dodgers are probably done outside of potentially making a big trade for a guy like Freddie Peralta or, dare I say it, Tariq Skubal. That would just be awful. Let's see. Jace Page says, oh, I'm sorry. You're talking to Andrew there. Yeah, hopefully he's not going to be a Dodger. Let's see. Tony HVAC Heyman just said 2 mystery teams in on Cody now. Okay, interesting. So let's go back to Twitter and see what John Heyman has to say. But apparently 2 mystery teams in on Cody Bellinger. Hopefully that does not mean it is the Dodgers, but Cody Bellinger is weighing interest from the Yankees, Mets, and 2 others. All right, so if I had to guess, I would say it's probably the Phillies. Obviously, they are still looking to add. They have an opening. They could put him in center field. They could put him pretty much anywhere that they have a need for Cody Bellinger in the outfield or first base, depending on what the situation is with Bryce Harper. they're still looking to move Castellanos, as I just mentioned, but I have to imagine it's probably the Phillies. I'd be shocked if it's the Dodgers as the other mystery team that is in on Cody Bellinger. But interesting development to get this just about 10 minutes ago, this tweet from Jon Heyman. I was about to start reading a portion of this article from Brendan Cody again, writer for The Athletic that covers the Yankees, but let's go ahead and just get into the meat and potatoes of it really quick. What's Bellinger's market at this point anyway, he asked. There have been no new reports of teams making formal offers to Bellinger since it surfaced that the Yankees extended to him a deal worth as much as $160 million over 5 years that included no deferrals and the possibility of opt-outs. The Athletic has since learned via a league source who has been briefed on the ongoing talks that the Yankees would be willing to include opt-outs after year 2 and year 3 of the 5-year deal. That's in addition to a signing bonus, which Jon Heyman first reported. At the time, the Yankees' latest offer, Bellinger's camp had been pushing for a deal with 7 years and a higher AAV than $31 million to $32 million, and it appears they haven't moved off the request. So we heard the Yankees were maybe willing to just simply move on and say, you know what, Cody, we made our best effort. This is our final offer. We are not getting into a bidding war. We heard something along those lines. The Yankees internally have decided they're not getting into a bidding war for Cody Bellinger. I don't know. I feel like they have no choice, because where would they turn at that point? Now, they have some interesting prospects. You have Spencer Jones that's coming up. Maybe he could fill that void. Maybe they finally give a full run of it for Jason Dominguez. But to lose 29 homers and the 815 OPS bat and the defensive ability that Cody Bellinger has, the Yankees are staring down the barrel of a really, really bad offseason. So I think there's no team that needs Cody Bellinger more than the Yankees, if I'm being totally honest. But I would again guess that it's probably the Mets, Yankees, Phillies, and I don't know who that fourth team is. We saw just here from this tweet from Jon Heyman, 2 others, but nothing else on it. So very interesting. All right, let's see. Bloodhound Lil Jeff, you're a pawn if you want a cap. The owners will use that out of you. Peralta doesn't even make the Dodgers better. He's going to the Mets. Those mystery teams are my mom and my grandma. Hardly anyone wants Cody. All right, Bloodhound Lil Jeff, a lot to unpack there. But I do think there are teams that want Cody. I think that none of them want to give the long-term 7-year commitment that he is seeking. So the short-term high AAV thing probably interests them more, a few more teams than would normally otherwise for the 7-year deal that Cody was rumored to be seeking. So I do think there are some teams in on him for sure. Who those other 2 teams are, I don't know. Again, my best guess is that one of them would be the Phillies. I could be wrong about that, but they seem to make a lot of sense as a team that really hasn't done any additions, specifically on offense this offseason, and of course also lost Ranger Suarez to the Red Sox just last week. Jace Page, we need a salary cap. I don't want there to be a salary cap, only because the Mets finally have an owner that is willing to spend and has the most money in baseball outside, I guess you could say, of the whole Dodger situation with the Guggenheims. But yeah, I really don't want there to be a salary cap, but if that's what's necessary to put an end to this ridiculous spending that has been coming out of Los Angeles over the last couple of years, then okay, I guess you can't have your cake and eat it too, right? Let's see. Red Horse Adventures, Keith Hernandez, 11 gold gloves, Andrew Jones, 10. Now, obviously, Andrew Jones was I don't want to say superior hitter because they were different. Jones was more of a power hitter, obviously, had a couple, I think, 30 and 40 home run seasons and 120 RBI years, whereas Keith Hernandez was more of a OBP guy, and I think the most homers he ever hit was 20, something like that, right, for Keith Hernandez, but 11 gold gloves for Mex. That is insane, yes, and I am on record. Him and Donnie Baseball, get him into the Hall of Fame, get him in together. I think that would be awesome. Tomb Raiders, Heyman is like the inquirer when it comes to Boris clients. I'm hoping to have John on the show here soon. I've reached out to him. We've talked a little bit. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'm hoping that maybe when the dust kind of settles on this whole offseason, that I'll have an opportunity to have John on the show. And if that is the case, then would definitely open the forum for you guys to ask him some questions as well. So hopefully that will eventually happen. We do have another fun guest coming on the show this Thursday, someone from WFAN who you guys are probably pretty familiar with. So very excited about that. Hopefully that will be up and on the channel here by Thursday evening. So if you're not already subscribed, go ahead, hit that button. Go ahead and do that right now. Thank you so much, guys. Leave this video a like. Go ahead and do that right now as well. Really appreciate it. So Yankees are holding firm with their offer, it sounds like, on Cody Bellinger. That according to Brendan Cody. Here's from Will Salmon the other day talking about how the Mets are still in on Cody Bellinger despite signing Bo Bichette last week. But he also notes a couple of other names. He says other names worth watching include Harrison Bader, maybe a reunion with him. Lars Nootbaar, we've talked about him. I am not interested in the Mets trading for Lars Nootbaar at all, if I'm being honest. Jake Myers from Houston is a name that is kind of intriguing. Definitely more of a glove first guy than a bat, but could definitely help this team, I think. And Luis Robert Jr., who we have bandied about here for almost, it seems, a full calendar year at this point. Will writes, it is possible that the Mets list isn't limited to those names. In theory, Jarren Duran could be another option, but rival executives aren't fully convinced the Boston Red Sox end up trading him. Now, we also did hear today that the Red Sox and Houston, we're talking more about that potential Isaac Paredes deal that would move him to Boston, assumed to be the new Red Sox third baseman in that case, and that they did believe the deal included Jarren Duran going to Houston. That was kind of the whole reason I created that video on Sunday, where I found a way to insert the Mets into that 3-team trade to bring Duran to the Mets. I think that would be amazing and make this team about as complete as you possibly can as far as their lineup, that is. Again, it's probably a pipe dream. It probably won't happen, but it is good to know that the Mets are willing and have their hands in a bunch of different names. But one of those is Austin Hayes, who we started the stream out here with that tweet from Heyman about how the Mets have kept contact with him, as well as a handful of other teams. Mostly the guys also in on Bellinger's market, like the Yankees. But Austin Hayes, not really someone that's going to, make you do a tap dance when you find out that your team signed him. He's all right this past year. 315 on base percentage, a 105 OPS plus. How many games did he end up playing in? Start of the year, was with Cincinnati the whole way. Played in 103 games. Was not worth more than a WAR, 1 win above replacement. They're not great numbers. They're not terrible. You could do a lot worse for a fourth outfielder. I mean, if this is the type of offensive profile that Tyrone Taylor was putting up, you'd feel a lot better about his prospect as the Mets' fourth outfielder, the defensive first outfielder. But 15 homers, 64 RBIs this past year for Hayes, 266 average, and again, got on base at a 315 clip, a 768 OPS. It's not bad at all. He's 30 years old, but if I recall, Austin Hayes, not exactly the most impressive defensively. So what exactly does he bring to the table if he doesn't repeat that? He's not bad, don't get me wrong. Didn't qualify as far as range outs above average last year, but was worth 1. Arm value is right in the middle of the pack. Strong arm, that's in the 88th percentile. And as far as sprint speed, 54th percentile. So it's not like you're getting some crazy athlete. At that point, I'd probably just prefer to do a reunion with Harrison Bader. Hope that last year wasn't just kind of lightning in a bottle for him with Minnesota and then with the Phillies at the end. I really like the idea of potentially bringing Harrison Bader back if it doesn't work out with Cody Bellinger. But let's see. Stoney, what's up? Hi, Tony. What are your odds on us getting Bellinger? Give a number. Okay. I'm still going to say it's 30%. I think it's 30% he goes to the Mets. I'm going to say 60% he's going to go back to the Yankees, and the remaining 10% to one of those mystery teams. I think the Phillies are probably going to have to try to be aggressive because right now they are worse than they were at the end of last year. And then the Yankees case, I mean, I just don't see where they pivot to if they don't bring Cody Bellinger back. And again, I do believe that is his preferred destination. He just wants the contract details to be more favorable to him. Although I think what the Yankees have offered him is very fair at this point. 5 years, 165 opt-outs after year 1 and 2 or 2 and 3, whatever it was. So I am actually surprised he just hasn't simply re-signed with the Yankees already. But I'm going to put it at 20% for the Mets. 60% for the Yankees, and then the remaining 20% for another team. I think that's how I had it, or 70 for the Yankees, 20 for the Mets, and 10 for the for one of the other mystery teams out there, Stoney. Let's see. We got some I got to catch up on here. Brad Afternow, other mystery team, Toronto. Oh, that is a very good point, Brad. Yes, that would make a lot of sense. I would say Philly, and the other mystery team is probably the Blue Jays after missing out on Kyle Tucker, which saw that they had a 10-year, $350 million offer for Tucker, and he did end up going to the Dodgers still on the short-term high AAV deal that the Mets drew up for them. But yeah, Toronto still probably looking to add after missing out on Kyle Tucker. Very good call by you there, Brad. My guys, Mets says that Mets should offer Bellinger 6 years for $240 million. No. That's way too much. That's crazy for Cody Bellinger. No, I think that's too much. Tomb Raiders, Heyman is like to inquire. Oh, sorry, I already got that one. Let's see. Who else? James McCorn, besides the leak of the Mets offer, this is drawing out like Tucker deal. Won't be surprised if Belly goes elsewhere. The only difference is that I don't believe the Mets are the leader in the clubhouse for Bellinger. I still do believe that's the Yankees. And that's what's giving me a little bit of hope that he could come to the Mets, that the Mets do ultimately end up with Bellinger. The fact that we haven't heard anything about the Mets having a formal offer out there, anything about the details of what the Mets are willing to offer Bellinger, kind of is like how the whole Bo Bichette situation went down. Whereas with Tucker, it was very public and it was probably leaked by his camp. And that is why he ended up getting the deal that he did with the Dodgers, and the Mets don't have him. But this is kind of the inverse, where I'm actually feeling like the Mets have a better shot at Bellinger because we haven't heard any details about what they're willing to offer him. So that's the one kind of positive spin that I'm getting from this whole situation, whereas I think Yankee fans are shaking in their boots if they don't get him. And the fact that we've known publicly about this deal they've offered him for at least it seems like 2 weeks now, and yet him and the Yankees have still yet to be able to come to terms would definitely be concerning, I think, if you're a Yankee fan. Lane Kerner, how do you feel about the Mets? I'm feeling okay. I still think they need another move or two. I'd like them to get a frontline starting pitcher. I don't know how they're going to do it. Peralta, Skubal. I don't think either of those guys are going to happen. I maybe Peralta, Skubal probably not. And they still need a bat. So if you tell me they're going to sign Bellinger, turn around and trade for Peralta, I'm ready to go. This is it. Let's start the season. But there's definitely some work to be done. Feeling a little bit better after Bo Bichette for sure, but there's still a lot of questions, in my opinion, about this Mets team right now. My guys, maybe the Chicago Cubs are the mystery team. I wouldn't think so, only because they just gave that big deal to Alex Bregman, and they were in a rush to trade Cody out of Chicago when they did ultimately send him to the Yankees last offseason. It seemed like relationships kind of soured between them, and part of it was probably because they saw the opportunity to trade for Kyle Tucker, which of course we know they did, spent their year with him, but I have to imagine that there may not be the best relationship between the two sides after they essentially gave him away to the Yankees just simply to get rid of some of the money on their accounting books so that they could pursue Kyle Tucker instead. Black Cat, I'd like to get Bellinger, but I have a feeling he won't sign with the Mets, but it's not my money. I don't care how much he costs. You want to provide a winning product, get him. I think, like I said, I still think the Yankees are the leaders in the clubhouse. I think the Mets have as good a shot as any of these other three teams. I mean, the Yankees, Mets, two other teams who I'm pretty convinced after Brad brought it up, one of them might be the Blue Jays, and my guess is the other might be the Phillies. But there are lots of, I'm sure, teams out there that would love to have him. And again, yeah, like you said, it's not our money, like you're already over the luxury tax cap. So why not just completely blow past it if you're willing to pay the guy? Let's see. Stoney, I already got you, my bad. Who else do we got here? Lane Kerner, can the Mets sign Mike Tart? Who is Mike Tart? I feel like this is a joke. I feel like this is like a Simpsons gag or something like that. Lamar Jackson, man, give me Valdez and a 3-year deal with high AAV short term. Only problem for that deal and why I don't think it works for Framber Valdez is because he's 32 years old, because he also has the qualifying offer attached to him. I already didn't love that the Mets gave the 1-year opt-out to both Bo Bichette for a player that had the qualifying offer attached to him. That was disappointing, but they did it, and I can't imagine they're going to do it with another player with the QO attached to them for a risk of them being here for only 1 or 2 years. 3 years guaranteed. I'm all in on that for Framber Valdez. But again, in the case of Framber, maybe his only chance to test free agency, seriously at least. And at 32 years old, I think he wants the long-term commitment, the guaranteed dollars for 5 or 6 years at a minimum. So, guys, leave this video a like. Really appreciate that. Go hit that button now. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Daily Mets content, all Major League Baseball content here on my channel. You can also follow me on all the other platforms. Links to all those are in the description of this video down below. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever you call it, Facebook. They're all in there. You guys could catch me on all those websites as well. So we're going to go a little bit longer here. James McCorn, if the Mets are going... I got to get off of this. What am I doing here? Let me go over here. Let's see if John has anything else. Nothing else other than that tweet he sent out 27 minutes ago. Bellinger weighing interest from the Yankees, Mets, and 2 others. Okay. Lane go Mets, LFGM Lane, love it. Who else who we got here? Lamar, Red Horse Adventures. Bellinger knows New York at this point. I think it's really between the New York teams. I wouldn't be surprised at all if it comes down to the Mets and Yankees, and I think it's going to come down to, does he settle for a little less than what he was hoping for from the Yankees, or does he bet on himself, take the short-term, high AAV deal from the Mets, and try to retest the market next year or the year after that? But, of course, again, as we know, we'll be a year or 2 years older by that time. So, hey, weighing decisions for deals that are worth north of $100 million. Not exactly a terrible problem to have, right? Let's see. Who else we got here? Lane Kerner, can the Mets sign Austin Hayes and Frankie Valdez? Framber Valdez. They could. Again, I still think it's unlikely they're going to get Valdez just because of the qualifying offer and because of what he has stated he wants this year in free agency for his next contract. I don't love Austin Hayes. I'd rather just go re-sign Harrison Bader at that point. At least someone that we are familiar with, who I think has a higher ceiling than Austin Hayes. So I would definitely prefer to go that route if the Mets miss out on Bellinger. Let's see. James McCorn, if the Mets are going to look elsewhere and looking at players like Hayes, then why not go for Andujar? Had a nice year last year, high ceiling prospect when he was with the Yanks. Yeah, Miguel Andujar is a solid bat. I mean, had a really good year this past season with, first started the season out with the West Sacramento Athletics before being traded to Cincinnati. He hit .318 with 10 home runs, an .822 OPS, a 125 OPS plus, and yeah, really solid season. The problem is he is defensively challenged. I don't even know where he really played the majority of this year. I know he played some third base with Cincinnati, and I would imagine also did the same with Oakland or West Sacramento, whatever you want to call the Athletics. But defensively, it is definitely still a struggle for Miguel Andujar, and that was always the rub on him coming up from the Yankees farm system. I thought it was wild that they gave up on him as early as they did and traded him off, or simply, I think, might have actually just let him go at some point. But Andujar came up, hit like 40 doubles his rookie year. But he's got a tremendous arm, no doubt about that, 94th percentile. But as far as range, outs above average, -7, not very good. Yeah, definitely struggles, obviously, fielding. There's no doubt about that. It is well documented on Andujar. I just don't know where exactly he would fit into this Mets team. -3 run value in 2024 with the Athletics, and -5 this past season between his time with the A's and with the Reds. So I just don't know where you'd put him. We already are kind of saddled with Mark Vientos, whether he's on the roster or not entering this year. Who knows? Maybe that could all change, but a guy that you're hoping bounces back at the plate, but you basically have to hide at the DH spot. There's really not many other options there. And I just, as much as I like the bat that Andujar brings, not sure that the Mets have any more room for guys that struggle with the glove out in the field. Who the hell is Andrew Tate? What is going on in this chat? Let's see. Lane Kerner, the Mets trade for Brett Beatty. Well, we have Brett Beatty, but they could trade him. Let's see. Stoney, do you see the Dodgers trying to get Bellinger, Tony? Because seems like they get everyone. I don't. I think they're done. I don't see how the Dodgers could possibly fit Cody Bellinger on the roster they have right now, but they've done everything to irk and irritate me for the last several years with their signing, so nothing would surprise me at this point, but I really would be truly shocked if Cody Bellinger also signs with the Yankees. Let's see, who else do we got here? Santos Sevilla. Nobody's talking about the San Francisco Giants. I have a feeling he is an offer from them, and he ends up going there. You heard it here first. Hey, Santos, that's a good call. Yeah, I mean, I think they said they don't want to do any more long-term commitments. They have some big contracts on their books. Willie Adames, Matt Chapman just got re-upped. The pitcher in their rotation, can't think of his name right now. Yeah, that's a good call, though. I mean, I said it the other day when we were talking about Kyle Tucker. I was surprised that the Giants haven't been rumored to be in on his market. They're usually in pursuit of big name free agents every offseason. And one of our commenters and viewers here noted that their owner had come out recently and said that they were not interested in doing any more big time deal, long commitment deals. So fit wise, yes, it does make sense for me with the Giants, but maybe they are kind of a little wary of giving out another long-term, big, expensive contract. Not a bad call, though, by you, though, at all, Santos. Let's see. Some dudes in here drunk Lamar. Enrique Garcia, congratulations to Carlos Beltran and Andrew Jones for making the Baseball Hall of Fame. We love it. Lamar Jackson or their 10-year-olds. Yeah, no doubt. Let's see. Who else we got in here? My guys, Mets. I trade for Sandy Alcantara and sign Zach Gallen. Okay. So if that happens, let's just play this out. I don't know what would go back in the deal for Sandy Alcantara, but if you acquire him and then you also sign Zach Gallen, well, now we have like 8 starting pitchers. So somebody's got to get dealt in that deal. There's got to be some moves, right? You have David Peterson, Cody Senga, Sean Manaea, Clay Holmes, Nolan McLean, likely as your 5 guys, right? And then you have Jonah Tong, you have Brandon Sproat, you have Christian Scott, all guys that figure to eventually at some point make starts for this team this year, barring any trades of them. So if they were to go get a guy like Alcantara or to sign Zach Gallen, well, there has to be a follow-up move to deal one of those guys. They don't necessarily have to, because you can fill out the AAA rotation with Sproat, Tong, and Christian Scott coming off Tommy John surgery, but there's only so many spots, and the Mets would have to start thinking about moving some of the guys from their current rotation if that is the deal. I don't hate it. I think that Miami's going to ask for an arm and a leg. They asked for Brett Beatty for Edward Cabrera before sending him off to Chicago. I hate doing in-division trades, and I would be very fearful of doing that with the Marlins, that are going to look to pick apart every bone in the Mets farm system and off their roster for an Alcantara trade. But my guy said, or Bloodhound Lil Jeff, you're the real champ. You guys are all champs. You guys are awesome. Thanks for being in here, guys. Phil DeLuca. Hey, Tony. What's up, Phil? How's it going, man? Good to hear from you. Glad you could tune in. Red Horse Adventures Boris is working everyone to suck out the last penny. If the Yankees were prepared to let Bellinger go, why haven't they entertained other outfitters? Tell me they're willing to offer. It tells me they are willing to up their offer. That's true. There's also really nobody else out there. Now, they could have pursued Kyle Tucker, but he ended up being even more expensive than Bellinger. And the Yankees have kind of been penny pinching this offseason. We heard the comments from Hal Steinbrenner at the beginning of this winter, paying the $100 million tax to New York City on Yankee Stadium. So I think Bellinger's their guy, and that's why I say Yankee fans should be terrified. I still do think he ends up going there, but where do they pivot if he ends up signing elsewhere? They are in a pretty tough spot if Cody Bellinger ends up in any other uniform than the Yankee pinstripes. But Man of all, Mets need to sign Belly. I'm with it. Let's get it done. Lane Kerner, can the Mets sign Miguel Andar? They can, no doubt. I don't think they will, but they can. S-Man, Mike Tart, and Jeff Art. This has got to be a joke, I don't know, or something. Twist your dreams. Keith Hernandez needs in the Hall of Fame without a doubt. D-Rails, what is up, D-Rails? How's it going, man? Good to see you, dude. Appreciate it. One of the OG gangsters from the very early heydays here of Tony Metro Live. Appreciate you, D-Rouse. Thanks for tuning in, man. Hope you're having a good week so far. Mothman Evolved. Mets fans, stop thinking small. Come on, Bellinger's the guy. Yes, I love it. Look, if the Mets sign Bellinger, I am feeling really good about this lineup. I still think that they need to make some additions in the rotation, but I feel a lot better about this Mets lineup than I did this time last week prior to signing Bo Bichette. Bichette. You add Bo Bichette, you add Cody Bellinger, and wow, things are looking a lot better for this Mets 1 through 9. And defensively, I'm feeling a lot better about things with Cody in the fold as well. Stearns misses on Bellinger. I'm going to lose my mind, says Mothman. Oh, I lost my mind about the Tucker situation, more so because he ended up going to the Dodgers, but I'll be there with you for sure. Mason takes Nuggets. I feel like me personally, Cody's going to look at both New York teams and see which one would be better with him in the lineup, but I think the Mets 100% have a better team with Bellinger. Only pushback I'm going to give you on that is he played for the Yankees last year and had a renaissance season with them. 29 home runs. Like I have said here, the short porch in right field, hitting in front of Aaron Judge. I don't know why you would want to leave that, to be honest. I mean, to come to the Mets, who are in such turmoil after last season, and even though I think they're going to bounce back in a lot of different ways, there's no guarantee that you're going to play October baseball in Queens this year. I mean, can we all admit that? I think that there's still a lot of questions about this Mets team. With all the drama always surrounding them, you could just go to the Yankees, continue to be a 30 home run bat with Aaron Judge hitting behind you. I just think it's about the dollar bills. At the end of the day, I think it's all about the final deal that the Yankees are willing to offer. And like I've said, I think the deal they have offered him is more than fair. And I'm actually shocked that Cody Bellinger hasn't just simply re-upped with the Yankees at this point. But a couple more here, guys. Sal Capella, let's not fool around here. If Skubal is truly available, then that's who I'm trading for. But in the meantime, trade for Peralta and McGill. That would be amazing. Complete the bullpen with Trevor McGill in the back end, with Luke Weaver and with Devin Williams. Freddie Peralta to put atop of your rotation with Nolan McLean as a nice little 1-2 punch. I love it. I've said about Skubal, I think they are going to ask for the moon, and it's just not worth it, despite how good he is, despite being a back-to-back AL Cy Young winner. I would just simply rather try to sign him next offseason as opposed to trading him. But if the Dodgers are going to get involved and try to trade for Skubal right now, the Mets need to probably push their chips into the center of the table, if for nothing else, to prevent that from happening and him signing a mega deal with the Dodgers. At that point, just forget it. Don't even play the season. I already said that after they signed Kyle Tucker. So let's see. Mason takes Nuggets. Goldschmidt is too old. He's likely going to retire unless he gets a good offer. I think maybe he'll sign like a minor league deal kind of thing, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's one of those situations where he goes down to spring training with the team, and if he doesn't make the team, he'll just retire. Goldschmidt is definitely not someone I'm interested in. We heard that rumor about the Mets after Pete Alonso ended up signing with Baltimore, and I was livid at that. I am not interested in Paul Goldschmidt. It doesn't sound like a lot of teams are either. Oscar Contreras, is it possible for the Mets to sign Bellinger for left field and Bader for center? Is it too much to ask? No, I mean, it's not too much to ask, but I don't think that's going to happen. You then are blocking Carson Bench from making his debut this year. If you sign Cody Bellinger, you're putting him in left field, and you keep Tyrone Taylor as your starting center fielder. It allows you the opportunity to let Carson Bench come up at any time and take playing time away from them, whether that be because Bellinger's playing more first base or DHing, or in the case of Tyrone Taylor, he is what he is. He's a fourth outfielder with a really good glove that doesn't hit very much at all. But if you sign Harrison Bader as well, now we're talking guys on major league contracts that obviously can't be sent down to the minor leagues. And it just makes the path for Carson Bench to debut very, very difficult. So I don't think both of those things would happen. But like I said, if the Mets do miss on Bellinger, not that Bader's going to ever be as productive at the plate as Belly is, I would not be upset with the Mets having a reunion with Harrison Bader, improving the outfield defense, and still giving them a shot to have Carson Bench have some really meaningful time in the big leagues this year. Let's see who else. Phil, I said the Dodgers lineup is getting a little old. I don't know about that. I mean, they are, no doubt, but they have shown no signs of slowing down for the most part, and they're the Dodgers, so anything they want, they'll get. So I'm not ready to write the Dodgers off by any means, that's for sure. Lane Kernick, the Mets signed Skubal and Peralta and Goldschmidt. They would have to trade for Skubal or Peralta. They could sign Goldschmidt. He is a free agent, but all three of those things happening are definitely, I think, less than a 1% chance, but I could see them going after Peralta. And if the whole situation with Skubal gets out of hand and them heading to arbitration, him and the Tigers, would not be surprised to see the Mets jump into those waters for Tariq Skubal as well. But let's see. No Tyrone Taylor, please. Shaking my head. We're more than defense out there. Yeah, I agree with you, Lamar. And they are hoping Carson Bench is going to come up and be impactful in his rookie season. And that's why I think they do probably begin the year with Taylor getting the majority of time in center field. And we'll see if the totally depends on if the Mets do come away with Bellinger or some other big name outfielder to put into their starting lineup right away to open the year, and then what the timeline becomes on Carson Bench, whether he is an opening day roster candidate or if they're going to let him get a little more seasoning in AAA. But I hear you, they definitely need a little bit more. Mason takes Nuggets. I feel like Carson Bench, if he has good spring training, he should be able to be in the opening day lineup at center. Yeah, and David Stearns has said that and made it very clear that they are willing to consider him for the opening day roster to be an opening day starter in this lineup. I think he's going to profile better as a left fielder than center fielder just based on everything I've read this offseason. Don't know for sure. Maybe he turns out to be a tremendous defensive center fielder, but I feel like they probably are going to value Taylor's defense in center, not put all of that workload on Carson Bench's plate coming up as a rookie when they really want to make sure, hey, just let him get used to big league pitching and not also have to worry about playing one of the most important defensive positions on the diamond as well. Lamar Jackson, welcome to the Keith Hernandez level, guys. Appreciate that. Our memberships are growing here, so you guys can check all that out. But Lamar, our newest member to the Keith Hernandez. Phil, also a member. Appreciate you guys being here. Phil says, what do you think of Dom Smith being a late inning replacement at first base? I just don't think there's a spot on the Mets roster for like a late inning first baseman. You know what I mean? And I think in a perfect world, that's who Cody Bellinger becomes for this team, where he starts the game in left field. And then as it gets later, they can actually put Cody at first base instead of Polanco if he's not trending in the right direction defensively over there. So I think in a perfect world, that's what you sign Cody Bellinger for, to start and play the first 8 innings of the game in any of the 3 outfield spots. And then you can move him to first base in a tight game where you want to prioritize defense at first base. As far as Dom Smith, he's never going to hit enough in the big leagues to warrant him, getting a roster spot, in my opinion, but even more so to be getting, look at this, we're pouring it in, baby. Thank you, Lamar Jackson, for the $9.99 super chat. Appreciate that very much, Lamar. Are you a Ravens guy? You must be. How do you feel about John Harbaugh getting introduced as the Giants' new head coach today? And where are the Ravens going to turn? I'm just assuming that you're a Ravens fan based on your username here, but Phil, just to finish my thought, I don't think it's very likely that the Mets are going to be willing to give a roster spot to Dom Smith's, simply to essentially be a late inning defensive first baseman kind of guy. But Mothman, hearing it's down to the Mets, Yankees, and Blue Jays. Okay, Blue Jays drop down according to Mothman. The Blue Jays lose again. All right, where are you guys hearing this? Let's get into it. I was going to wrap it up here soon, but this could be coming to a head here pretty soon. Let's see who's reporting that. It's not John Heyman as far as the Cody Bellinger sweepstakes, but we got some people here in the chat that are saying the Blue Jays are out. The 2 other are the Yankees and Jets. John Heyman replied to that. That's pretty funny. Where are you guys seeing this on the Blue Jays? I want to pull up whoever tweeted that or mentioned it. Look at that. I never really loved the Mets snow white jerseys. I think that's kind of what they referred to these as, without the blue pinstripes on the home whites. I never really loved these uniforms. Something about them just lacking a little bit. And then especially because they still had the black drop shadow here, as you could see on Beltron. These jerseys never did it for me. I do like them with the blue hat, though. When they wore the black hat and the blue brim with these, that didn't work. So I was never a huge fan of these jerseys at all. But yeah, Carlos Beltran, of course, getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. Crazy how time flies. But let's see. Who else we got here? Lamar Jackson. Nah, I'm a New Yorker, moved to Virginia. My government name is Lamar Jackson. You're funny, dude. All right, well, then good for you, I guess. And I don't know, maybe are you a Giants or a Jets fan? I'm personally a Jets fan, and it's a terrible existence, obviously, as we all know. No need for me to go down that rabbit hole, but that is cool, man. I actually took a job interview in West Virginia about a year ago this time, and nice area. Wasn't for me, so we are still here where we are right now, looking for the next opportunity. But that is really cool, man. Congrats to you, and best of luck out there. Lane, how do you feel about Carson Bench on the Mets roster on spring training in 2026 this year? Like I said, I think he's as good a chance to make the opening day roster as any other position player rookie, probably since Pete Alonso in 2019. And we know how that went. Came up his rookie year from day one. The Mets didn't do the whole control, years of service time manipulation and put him in AAA for the first month. He just came up right away, won Rookie of the Year, set the all-time rookie home run record with 53. I'm not saying you're going to get that out of Carson Bench, but the Mets do think very highly of him. And so, yeah, I think there's a very good chance that Carson Bench does start this season on the Mets opening day roster without a doubt. Lamar, Big Blue all day. Well, congrats to you, man. You got John Harbaugh. Harbaugh, I don't know how to say his name, but CEO running the show over there. As Mike Francesa used to like to say, the adults are in the room now, in reference to, of course, my Jets and Rex Ryan getting fired. Oh, the pain. All right, look, I want to find this news on the Blue Jays apparently being out. I haven't seen it yet. Some of you guys were just popping off in the chat talking about it, but I haven't seen anything to support that here on Twitter or X. So the only other thing, this is still about the John Heyman tweet from about an hour and a half ago about there being the Mets, Yankees, and two others still in on Cody Bellinger's market, but I haven't seen anything else to suggest that the Blue Jays are out. Let's just look it up real quick. Cody Bellinger, Blue Jays, maybe we could find it that way. I don't know. Here we go. Who else do we got here in the chat? My guys, Mets, sign Cody Bellinger and trade for Luis Robert. Trade for Sandy Alcantara and sign Zach Gallen. Go all in. Yeesh. My guys, you must have asked for a lot from Santa Claus on your wish list as a kid, huh? That is a big, big ask, but I like it. Dream big, right? Might as well. That's a pretty good plan there. I don't know what it's going to cost for Alcantara, I told you, but I'm always a little leery of it, trading in division, especially with the Marlins that love to nickel and dime the Mets and those kinds of deals. But signing Zach Gallen, I mean, dude, I know he had a really bad season this past year, but prior to that was a perennial Cy Young vote getter for his time out in the desert with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Obviously picked a really bad time to have a bad season with Arizona, but he is definitely someone that I'd be interested in. We really have not heard a word about his market this offseason whatsoever. I don't know if he has a qualifying offer attached to him or not, just not someone I've taken too deep of a dive on. Okay, Blue Jays are reportedly viewed as an unlikely landing spot for Cody Bellinger, but that was from 10 hours ago from SMY. So unless there's a new report that is officially counting Toronto out, this is the latest I could find on the Blue Jays being out on Cody Bellinger's market. So I don't know, unless you guys have another place that you know that somebody was talking about this. Let's see. Mason takes Nuggets says, I think if Bellinger looks at both teams, we definitely have the better team overall, and we have money, so he's a Met. I like that outlook, Mason, and I'm going to just take it with you, and I'm going to assume that same position as you are. Hopefully that is the case, and Cody does come to the better borough in New York, that of course being Queens. Mothman, the Jets are atrocious. Thank you, I know. And of course, in the greatest head coaching cycle in recent memory in the National Football League, the Jets decided they're sticking with Aaron Glenn because that's the New York Jets. Can't wait for next year. Not. Phil DeLuca, Jets, Jets. Big Rod. If it's only the Mets and Yankees, then he's a Met for sure. MLB Network, Mets and Yankees. Okay. Jets just endure the suffering. Suffer. All right. So that's good to see. Mothman and Big Rod both saying it sounds like the Mets and Yankees are the two guys. Those two are headlines. They are front runners. Lamar says, super happy about the John Harbaugh hire. We finally have an actual coach. The last great coach was Tom Coughlin. No doubt about it. Yeah. And of course, that whole situation was kind of unceremoniously let go, but hopefully now the Giants are going to get back onto the right path for you guys. Can't say the same about my team, that is for sure. Let's see. Lane, can the Mets sign Zach Gallen? Again, haven't heard anything on his market whatsoever, but I like the idea. Again, though, The Mets have a lot of starting pitchers in this group right now, probably 8 or 9 guys that we've listed here. And at some point, they're going to either have to start trading or moving them if they do want to make room for new pitchers to put into that group. But Mason takes Nuggets. If the Yankees aren't willing to bid with the Mets, we got him for sure. Yeah, I think the Mets are going to go as far as anyone as far as money. Years, maybe not. And that might be the sticking point with Bellinger, because we know he's essentially, extorting the Yankees for a longer term contract in the 5-year deal that they're already offering him. So if it comes down to years, I don't think the Mets win. If it comes down to money and a higher AAV and a chance to retest the market, if that appeals to Cody, then I think the Mets have a better shot than the Yankees of landing him. So, my guess, Mets, this year the Mets are going to the World Series. The Knicks are going to the finals. The Giants are going to the playoffs, and the Jets are winning 8 games. That is a very positive outlook, my guys, Mets. Your lips to God's ears. I'm sorry, but I think the Jets are going to derail that entire plan there. The Jets... 6 wins would be a miracle for the Jets next year, I would think. Even then, I don't know if they could even get that many, dude. I hope you're right, though. Let's see. Maybe 4 years, $200 million, and 2 opt-outs, says Mothman Evolve. So that would be a $50 million AAV for Cody Bellinger, which we keep saying is so crazy. Like, Bo's going to get 47 if he opts out after this year, and Tucker just got 60, and it's outrageous. But maybe this is just the new norm, and we shouldn't, think, single season pay is all that big a deal. Like the short-term commitment. So yeah, the numbers look ludicrous on paper when you spread it out over a short amount of time, but I still think it's a smart way of trying to build your team without the long-term commitments. I think there's certain cases that it calls for it, like Juan Soto, like Yamamoto, like Ohtani, right? But it's not as crazy when you think about doing it this way, and maybe that will start to trend and become the new norm moving forward. I think a lot of this and the finances of baseball are going to change big time after next year's CBA negotiations. But let's see. Mark Benjamin says Mets go for 165 with opt-outs for Belly. The Mets will get him. You have to imagine, yes, because that in itself is already a better deal than what the Yankees offered him. They offered him 5 years, 165 with potential opt-outs after year 2 and year 3. If the Mets are going for 165 right off the bat, it's a better deal. And if there's also opt-outs in there, there's no doubt that Cody Bellinger is going to take that deal than the one that the Yankees supposedly have given to him so far and don't sound willing to budge on and to increase. So let's see, who else do we got? Red Horse Adventures. If the Mets lose on Bellinger, who does go and throw sacks and sacks of money at to raid shop? There's not a lot of other names out there. Maybe they do jump into that Framber Valdez, into those waters. Again, the qualifying offer thing being attached to him, I think it changes things a lot. Sal Capello says, Jets head coach in 2027, McDermott. Remember, no coach has ever won a Super Bowl with 2 different organizations. Sorry, Giants fans. Great hire, though. Ooh, Sal Capello put a little bit of cold water on the Giants party from today. That'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I can't sit here as a Jets fan and say I'm not very jealous of what the Giants just accomplished here this week by signing John Harbaugh. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much all for tuning in, guys. You've been awesome about getting on these live streams, about commenting, bringing some great takes to the table here. Couldn't do it without you. Can't grow this channel without you guys. Go ahead, go watch that video of my trade proposal for Stephen Kwan that I just put out a few hours before I jumped on here with you guys. That's on my channel right now. But most importantly, leave this video a like. Go ahead, smash that button right now. And of course, if you're not already subscribed, hit that sub button. Trying to get to 6K by opening day. We got 66 days left to do it. You can also help by sharing this with a Mets fan and with a baseball fan in your life. So go ahead, hit that share button, send it in a text, put it on their Facebook page, blast it out to them. However you guys do it, really, really appreciate it so much. But that's going to do it for now. Of course, if there's any news on the Cody Bellinger front, this will be your place to come tune in as we break it all down. But for this evening, at least, hopefully, barring any changes or news, that's going to do it. I'm Tony Metro. Stay true to the orange and blue.